Hello everyone, welcome to this session of Open Mentor. Our motto is the whole world can learn for free. This session is on HR domain. We have been giving a series of sessions on HR domain. In the last session we talked about promotions. We also talked about the pay hikes, pay revisions as part of promotions, and we also talked about 360-degree appraisal. There are other things do happen in the company, but certain things which are recurring is allocation of a person to project, extension in the project, release from the project, come back to the pool, then go back to another project, get your performance appraised, move up the ladder, get pay revisions. This happens. There is also something that is inevitable is separation or exit. Employee wants to leave the organization. The separation can be voluntary by the employee, initiated by the employee, right? Or it may be initiated by the organization. We will come to that part later. Let us assume that initiated by employee. Usually this comes with a resignation notice, right? By the employee to the manager or to the HR department. The moment there is a resignation notice given, offline they will first talk to them, right? To convince to withdraw the resignation, to retain the talent. If the organization feels that this person cannot be blocked, he has or she has to be let go out of this organization, then they will accept this, acknowledge the notice, right? Acknowledge meaning, okay, you have given me the resignation, I acknowledge, yes, I received it. Clock ticks for the notice period. In the HR system, this will be logged. This employee has submitted the resignation on this date. There will be some documentation saved in the HR application. The moment a resignation happens, a series of activities to happen. For example, if the person is in project, release the person from project. So releasing from the project happens as though the person is moving one project to another project. So first, if the person is in a project working, make sure knowledge transitions, everything is happening, that reporting manager is informed, and there is a target date set to release this person. Release the person from the project. This is the first step. During this time, the person has to serve the notice period. In every company, whether it is healthcare company, excuse me, or a software company, or a hardware company, or a BPO company, immediately a person cannot leave. The work has to be transformed to somebody else. In that case, there is a notice period. Some companies do have 15 days, some companies do have 30 days, some have 60 days, depending upon the level and criticality of the person and the criticality of the project. So there is a notice period satisfaction to be done. Once that is done, release the person from the project. Then check with accounts on any balance payments, either to the employee or from the employee. Some companies do provide loans to the employees. There may be dues by the person to the company, right? Or there may be some dues, allowances or perks not given to the employee but to be given to the employee by the company. So accounts department will first calculate what is due to the employee or what is due from the employee. If it is due from the employee, the person has to pay. It can be even adjusted against the current month's pay. So accounts department will take that part and provide a clearance certificate Basically it's a no dues, right? No dues from either side, so this person is free now. A clearance certificate is usually given by the accounts department. Then there are other departments, correct? The person have to submit back the access card or some of the machines or laptops or cell phones given by the company, hand them back over to the company because they are all company assets, right? Give back all company assets. This will be taken care by the infrastructure team. So they will give another clearance certificates. There is nothing pending with this person, right? Then freeze emails, logins, access, etc. Again, this is done by the infrastructure team. Once this is done, HR has to prepare the relieving order and experience certificate. So the company HR will prepare, okay, this person has worked from this date to this date at this designation and the experience is in this relevant area. A letter will be prepared, signed by the HR manager, signed by the candidate, given back to the candidate, one copy for each HR and the candidate. Then the employee has no dues, has given back all the company assets, so the person is free. The person walks off the company. This is called voluntary separation. That means employee voluntarily moves out of the organization, right? Typically many companies face anywhere between 10 and 20% of attrition meaning voluntary separation of employees every year, right? So they have to recruit new people to fill that and then plus to grow. So recruitment happens. This is separation phase, but every activity, resignation, notice period, release from the project, no dues, everything will be tracked in the HR software. This is one part. The other part is not a voluntary separation, but it is initiated by company, right? This is typically a layoff, right? In layoff also there is something called a normal layoff and mass layoff. In some countries they define if you lay off 50 or more people, it's called mass layoff. Different rules are applicable for mass layoff and regular layoff. Very similar. This happens very similar to a regular layoff, but what happens is whenever the company wants to send that person out, it depends upon the country's rule. There is something called severance package. Of course, the release has to happen from the project if the person is working, or if usually the people who are not working in any project will be laid off because it is easy. There is no need to have additional procedures because they are waiting for something to get working, but they are not having any work. That's why they are in the available pool of people. So it is easy to lay off them. So the company has to give a severance package. There are some legal documents to be prepared. The company has to justify why the layoff happens. Legal department or the labor department will ask this. So there will be some legal documentation. And usually in the layoff, mass layoff, notice period will be very, very minimal. Maybe a week, maybe max 2 weeks. So notice will be short. They may even say this morning, from this evening, thanks, we will meet some other time, right? It may happen. So if the layoff is initiated by the company, the separation is initiated by the company, there are a few legal procedures depending upon which country you are employed. So they have to provide that. In some places they may provide 3 months basic pay, and in some place they may provide 1 month basic pay, right? In some other place they may give some external insurance, whatever. So there needs to be some compensation to ensure that the person is moving out. But there should be legal documents that should be submitted to the labor department. So this will be documented. Once this is done, the same way relieving order and experience certificate will be given to the employee. It's not that in the relieving order they will say this guy has been laid off, but usually they will say, they will treat it as a normal separation, because next time when the person goes for a job, if the new employer sees that he is laid off, there may be a slight discomfort. Why did you get laid off? So there may be a question. It may be of no fault from the employee. So to cover it up, normally they don't mess up with the relieving order and experience certificate. It will happen as though the person is leaving the organization voluntarily. So apart from this, there is no big difference between a person voluntarily leaving and then asked to leave. This happens. There are certain cases where there is a termination. This is initiated by the company. Usually this termination happens based upon indiscipline. A disciplinary action taken on the employee. You might have seen people misusing company assets, misusing computers, networks, falsifying their employments, accessing banned sites, trying to break the security of the systems, doing detrimental work to the organization. Anything will come under disciplinary action. So during this disciplinary action, there will be a termination letter issued. Usually this will be within the day, right? Within same day. And again, there may or may not be severance package for this, but legal documentation of what went wrong will be done, because if the employee files a case against the company, they have done it purposefully because of some vengeance. Company has to have documentation to ensure that they did everything right. So the disciplinary action will be documented, that will be stored in the HR system. So the separation can be voluntary by the employee or initiated by the company as part of layoff, or maybe termination due to bad activities by the employee. So this way the employee may move out of the organization. So in the series of sessions so far, we have started from organization hierarchy, right? Organization structure, roles, and then we talked about recruitment and interview process, then onboarding, then we also talked about project allocation, then we also talked about appraisal, then we talked about promotions and transfers, then we talked about payroll, we also talked about separation. So in the lifetime of the employee within the organization, all these things happen one after the other, right? So the HR system must support all these activities. There should be different screens, different reports, right? Different email notifications to communicate back and forth with the employee and the HR executive. I will stop this session now. We will talk about employee self-service in the next session. Thank you.